I know last week we talked a little bit about the religious or the mystical experience, and we're actually going to touch in a little bit on it this week as well. I draw this from Jerry Adler's article, In Search of the Spiritual, and this appeared in Newsweek in 2005. And he writes that religion experiences cycles, as does every aspect of nature and institution of man. Well, I guess that's me paraphrasing him because he wouldn't use these words. So anyway, and he tells us that people begin to demand existential experiences in their chosen version. Okay, that was version, not virgin. I know what I said, but Ray over there said I was getting a corpse, so I want to make sure. I want to make sure he doesn't raise his hand and say, "Excuse me, what are you doing with a virgin?" So anyway, people begin to demand existential experiences in their chosen version of religious practice. So, existential, well, how many of you actually meditated? All right, that's their existential experience. That's one version of an existential experience. But there are others, and I've told you that being in the zone is one of them. But there are more. There are many ways to have these experiences. You ever wonder how we get so many zealots? It's because they had one of these types of experiences. Now, I have these quite often. And since Ken and I read the same books, I'm sure he's had them quite often. And one of the ways that you can have these types of experiences is to immerse yourself in what you are doing or what you are reading, particularly what you are reading. Zealots reading. I read quite a bit. So does Ken. From what Ray has spoken in the past, I'm sure he reads a lot too. And it's during these times that we begin to have these experiences. How many of you read, period? Well, that's good to see. Now, as you're reading, whatever it is that you're reading, as you're reading it, does your mind kind of start putting together all these images that's being described and everything? And next thing you know, you're in this other world?
Have to stop and take a breather.
It's too exciting. How about when you read your spiritual books? So I'm going to ask Ken, when you're reading those spiritual books and you start visualizing what it is that they're talking about, what it is that they're explaining to you. How do you experience that? What does it feel like?
There's a feeling of oneness, expansion.
Expansion, oneness, I like that. How about you, Ray?
Well, the books that I'm reading, kind of like, I'm a student, this teacher, so I don't try to understand the book. So I don't go too far from the message in the book because I cannot understand.
Okay, but on your journey to understanding, and I know they use some pretty abstract terms. I mean, I'm always looking words up. So as you're moving towards that understanding, how does the picture, well, I shouldn't say how, I should be asking, does a picture begin to form, sort of like a jigsaw puzzle?
As I'm reading, if I can gather little bits of understanding. I guess I feel more aware than I did before. Not so much a picture.
Well, throw away the picture. How does it feel?
Common opening. A slight glimmer of understanding, but I'm not sure on the last one can understand. So,
Good, good. So when I read these books, depending on the type of writing it is, say if I'm reading from Allan Kardec's book, I see this two people there talking. I see one person at a desk kind of drilling the other one. So, and what was it that I had up here? Let's just use this as I got an example here. So as I'm reading Allan Kardec's The Spirit's book, I see two people having a conversation. You see one behind the desk, and Allan is doing this. So, can a soul re-enter a world as an atonement? And I see the spirit sitting across the desk with his legs crossed and he's just kind of laid back. And he says, well, spirits, we can remain stationary, but we never go back. We never retrograde. And I see them having a conversation. And then other times when I'm reading something like the Sefer HaZohar, and that's like a sharing between priests, it's part of the Kabbalah, and they're talking about these events, and the way they phrase it is there's always a group of them that are having a conversation. So I see this group of people having a conversation. And then there's books like Rudolf Steiner's Occult Science. And then it's all abstract images. Because he's talking about souls reaching back to pull others up, to help them along. He's talking about reincarnation, coming back and having to reach that point to where you left before you can actually begin to grow. And I see these images of myself fast forwarding through life and all this stuff to get to where I was at. And then, now that that's over, what does this mean? And like Ray, it's that sensation. They don't always see pictures. I get overwhelmed with these emotions. And I can tell you something, as your spiritual awareness, whatever you want to call it, as that begins to expand, your emotions become more sensitive. You begin feeling those words that they're describing. You're watching a video or a movie or whatever, and these particular scenes, it's entertainment, but still it's moving you. It's causing something to happen to you. What are your thoughts about that? And I'll start with Sharon, since she's already contemplating what I just said.
Oh, gosh, I kind of went off on a little tangent.
Well,
there,
that's
so I
okay.
did-
What was the
I
tangent?
did not contemplate what you said. I have the moment, yeah. Sorry.
It's quite all
Don't
right.
even have anything to answer. to this.
That's fine. That's fine. I know Beth does. Beth
Yeah.
always has something to say.
I've been outed. I mean, just agreeing, especially that last part, it's like another aha moment, it's like, oh my God, that's why I've been so weepy. I will weep at the drop of a hat. If something just kind of turns my heart, it's like,
I do.
you know, and I was never like that, I was like pretty stoic. Especially around people. I might be weepy.
If I
in
don't have
private,
enough coffee,
So I guess I can't attribute that to menopause necessarily, it might be just all the spiritual work.
sometimes when the spirit comes in, it'll make me weep. I mean, at the drumming session, I didn't have no coffee and my eyes started just to water and
Any thoughts, Sandy?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple things came to mind about the readings. It's just like you kind of, I mean, it's kind of a cliche term, but you do have this feeling of some sort of enlightenment. I mean, that's a maybe overused word, but and with that comes this I don't know how to describe it, but a feeling like you're getting a little fuller. I don't know how to describe that, and also a sense of reassurance. I think everything you read in this work gives you a sense of reassurance, I think. So, yeah, that was what, stood out the most for me. And Beth, I cry all the time, probably 5 times a day, so don't feel bad. I can't
Okay.
blame it on medical, but anyway, don't worry about it.
Happens to me all the time now.
really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm watching a movie. You know, and I watch videos to relax my brain, to help settle it down and everything, because you use less mental energy watching a video than you do reading.
Mm-hmm.
So when I need to veg out, I watch videos. And I'll get this scene to where it's not really you could say it's a moving moment. And even when the acting is horrible, still it moves me. Reading, it's the same thing. It moves me. Emotions are important. And this is a type of experience. It's a type of existential experience. It's a type of mystical experience, that sudden clarity. It's like all of a sudden the clouds parted, or in Moses' case, the waters parted. And it's an important piece of the puzzle that you're putting together. It just drops in and, ooh. Not only do you get chills, you feel lighter or fuller, as Sandy put it, but it makes an impression on you. And these are those experiences that Adler is talking about. These are those experiences that move people, whether they become zealots, spiritual teachers, or what have you. Because they're moved in a direction, and the direction that you're going to be moved in is what? Anybody?
Forward.
Fulfillment,
Forward? What?
Upward.
fulfillment or enlightenment,
Enlightenment's a myth. Just ask Ray. Enlightenment's a myth,
fulfillment.
but fulfillment or, yes,
The comment earlier that, Beth made about the more she studies, the more she cries in it. And I would have to agree with that. I think when you start, at least in my case, I was very stoic. And it's protection. I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna laugh, because you're not gonna hurt. Stoic, and these layers to follow. You get white. Yeah. Then what passions? I do this,
yes, very good.
never in front of Sharon, because somebody showed me.
And then she would naturally tell us.
Never in front of Sharon,
Who cries all the night crowd?
you cry all
Thank you. So, yeah. Crying for him. Yeah.
Yes, Shay.
We're not always processing our own emotions. What's happening in the world and spirits helping us release tears and flowing intensity for the sake of everyone, not just us. Because it gets trapped in the body.
True, but what we are processing is not the events. It's the emotions associated with those events. That's what we are processing. That's why the intellect is fantastic. But without some emotional quality there, it's worthless. And here's a good example right here. Adler wrote that Pope Benedict the 16th, before becoming a pope, wrote, "A dogmatic faith, unsupported by personal experience, remains empty. Mere personal experience, unrelated to the faith of the church, remains blind." Now, he said the faith of the church because he's the pope. That's his religion, that's his focus, and it works for him. But in essence, he's also saying that these experiences that are unrelated or have no context are worthless. Does that make sense? They're worthless. Well, let's back up a moment here. Okay, a dogmatic faith. We don't even need dogmatic, but just faith. A belief. That simplifies it quite a bit, doesn't it? Yes? A belief. I don't know how people can do that. A belief without experience is worthless. Why do you believe that? I don't know. I don't know. And you know, you expect that out of kids because they're exploring. But when you ask an adult, why did you do that? I don't know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? You were there, weren't you? I don't know. That's just the way it comes out. I don't know. When you're doing your research, or when you're reading, or when you're meditating, there's a good one. We all meditate. So when you're meditating and you have one of these experiences, have you had one that you just couldn't explain? Do you know why you couldn't explain it?
I've never had that experience before. And then I just think our language just doesn't have words.
Well, there's more to it. You're close. You're on the right track. You are, well, not that you're on the right track. You are correct. But I want to share something with you. Now, this comes from one of the Gnostic writings. And I want to say the secret book of John, but I could be wrong. Anyway, he describes the absolute. Now, that's what they call God. What we call God is the absolute for them. Some of us say the source or whatever. But in this particular writing, one of the Johns is asking questions of Jesus. And Jesus is sharing with him. Now, the absolute, the absolute was perfect because there was nothing to compare it to for it to be imperfect. Key words here, nothing to compare it to. Now, to reduce that into one word is there was no context. Does that make sense? So when you have these experiences and you can't explain them, are they of value to you?
Yeah,
Oh, how?
well. You don't know if sometime down the line, you will gain understanding into what it meant. You may not understand it at the moment, but it could happen. Something else could happen to you and you would say, well, now I understand what that meant. It's possible.
Yes.
It's just going to start as a building block. Okay.
All right. You have a building block and it's just sitting out in the yard. Okay. What do you do with it? Anybody?
You put it in the garage.
Wait for sale.
Where your empty yard.
So that building block is worthless until you have another building block. And then it becomes of value. That's why he wrote that a dogmatic faith unsupported by personal experience is empty. It's empty because you have nothing to compare it to. Does that make sense? So let me see if I can figure out the next part. Personal experience unrelated to your beliefs. Wow, that's the same thing, isn't it? Because it's still worthless. So let's look at this last point here. Surya Das, this is in the same article, tells us that people are looking, no, it's not in the same article. People are looking for a transformative experience, not just creed or dogma.
And that doesn't always happen. True. You know, but you can go years and years and years doing the same thing. Going to the same church, just as an example. You go to, you know, every Sunday you go to listen to somebody give a lesson or give a sermon. And go away and next week come back and you never have that kind of like. That kind of an experience. So. That I think when you mention zealots, that's why they become zealots, because when something happens, they're so shocked that they had this experience, then they feel like they have to go out there and tell everybody. And, you know, that in itself has its own issues, but yeah, I mean, otherwise there wouldn't be so many people walking around searching. they haven't had that thing happen to them yet, where they say, oh. Now I know where I'm going, now I know what path I need to be on. So we're all still searching. I think. In our own way, so.
I like that she said, go to church, go home, go to church, go home. Because a lot of people go to church so they know what day of the week it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
These experiences are personal experiences. If you go to someplace like a church or even here, and you have one of these experiences, consider yourself very fortunate.
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Isn't it available all the time?
yes, it is available all the time. It is available, but it's a very personal experience. See, that's the key, personal experience. And typically, when you come to a place like this, or you come to hear me, and I'm spouting what I know, the chances of you having one of those experiences are I'm not going to say nil, but they're small. Unless I prepare the way. And do you know how I prepare the way for you? What?
Examples.
Nope,
Research, you do a lot of
Nope.
research.
Spirit method?
nope.
Meditation.
Yes.
And they,
Do you know what happens when you meditate? When you meditate, the brain moves from beta waves, which is to alpha waves, which is I'm ready. Lay it on me. That's what meditation does. It increases the likelihood of your having some kind of personal experience while here because you're prepared for it. But a lot of these other places don't have these meditations, so they're not prepared. Fortunately, in spiritualism, meditation is pretty much a stock. There have been very few that don't have some kind of meditation. I'm going to take that back. So, anyway, Sandy, what are your thoughts?
I guess, the only thing that I question is that the word worthless. I get it, but I guess like Sharon was saying, if you don't get it now, I feel like it's kind of stored. It's stored in there. It's not worthless. It's just not recognized, I guess, maybe. And so it's there waiting to be reclaimed, I think. And I think that's what life is that's life, that's experience. There's stuff that's right in the forefront, and then there's stuff waiting to be reclaimed. I don't
That's
know.
a good way of putting it. Reclaim. Because nothing's really worthless.
Mm-hmm.
The value of it is just not as good as it could have been.
Right.
But once you have something to compare it with, or
Right.
to add to it, then its value dramatically increases.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's all I meant. Yeah. Yeah.
So good. I like that. Excellent.
Mm.
So what are your thoughts, Beth?
Just, I really agree with what Sandy said about, not having a context. And it's looking back and waiting for something to be reclaimed, like looking back, and it's like childhood experiences that I remember. It's like, Oh my God, that was that. I had nothing to compare it to. And so it got reclaimed with the memory and it's like, wow. These are way more common than I thought they were.
Yeah.
Not common, but have happened way more than I ever thought.
Mhm.
Need a coffee? I got one.
So, one of the side effects of my blood pressure medication is cough.
Yes.
I don't get one.
So,
I cough. What, my blood pressure did go up.
and, what are your thoughts, Ray?
Got home.
Well, I kind of like Sandy's thought about nothing's worth it. I was thinking about these stories like Stonecutter. And Stonecutter has a block, yes. And he hits the block with the sugar. Chip comes up and nothing happens. He does this 1,000 times, nothing happens. Then it hits it one time the block. So it wasn't the last time he hit it at the rocks, but it was all the times before to prepare the rocks. So in a couple of these experiences, if these experiences are slowly being stored, you'll look at that experience which causes this awakening. And it wasn't that experience, it wasn't that time that you were, but it was all 1,000 times that got you to the point. So
Yeah, exactly. Until there's something that gives it a place, you don't know what to do with it back. It's like all those pennies. We get these pennies in our change, and what do we do with the pennies? Oh, you know how many pennies I pick up on the road? But they add up.
They do.
They add up. So what are your thoughts, Janice?
Well, I've had them experiences. Oh, you know. And the experiences are good and deepen your beliefs. So whatever's there, you know. If you experience something and then later experience it, it should add to it.
Okay.
I've had quite a few experiences.
How about you, Ken?
Pretty sure, pretty much everything I've got on my mind and always have, it's just all a rehash of everything. I wanted to say one thing about drumming. I've tried it listening on CDs, I've never drummed myself, but listening to it on CDs. And one of the things I read about the advantages of drumming, that's what, but I can't think of the right. It
Benefits.
takes your mind off everything else.
Mhm.
If you can just have a split second, pure absolute, that's worth it. So that's one. Well, Beth mentioned that she'd been weepy, I would like to say that I couldn't get a shoehorn in there. Good for you.
Yeah.
I have sat at in a restaurant, trying to hide the fact, tearing up over something I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You know, I'll push my glasses up and I have to excuse myself. That I've had that quite often. And I think that leads into the other one again, why do women make better mediums than men? Because sensitive. And most of those, I don't know this, I've read this, so I read a lot. I don't know anything, but most male mediums are gay. And everything you've talked about, I've been reading about, it's like I've been reading a distillation of all the truths of the universe. And it's my spiritual author, no one's ever heard of. That's what you're talking about. You're right on that, everything. So that's that.
So yeah, I called on everyone, right? Did I call on you, Shay? No? Guess what?
The right answer is yes, yes.
Every Sunday is a spiritual experience for me with you all because something happened prior to me getting here, something happens after I leave during the week. And today I'm going to meet with a friend of Anne to kind of offer something to her about job hunting, and she's open to spiritual stuff. So we invite her here, but so it's just so practical for me. It's not like, it doesn't seem like something really big and unordinary. It's not always way out there and very powerful. Sometimes just right there. That's all.
And that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Little bitty things.
Mhm.
It's when the great big ones happen, which is when you really need to stand back and evaluate it and not run into it. Because when those great big ones happen, that's really just a tease. But when the little ones all add up, and I'm reading, like I said, I was reading Alan Kardec, and I got these thoughts and everything that I've talked about. I've gone out on a limb. And, oh wow, here it is right here. Here it is right here. I was watching that webinar, and Neil Thies was presenting it, all his information there, and it's like, wow, I was so excited. And I mean, I was really excited. That's why I brought it in to show everybody. Unfortunately, it was too sciencey, but that's what happens when one of these big events happen to you, and you don't stand back and think about it. All you want to do is shout it out loud. Sounds like a Kiss song. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I don't have anything to read that would be any better for it, except that people are looking for a transformative experience, not just a new creed or dogma, but a transformative experience. People want to experience their religion. And there are not enough teachers out there in these various religions that can guide them to such an experience. It's not about Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Judaism. It's not about the religion. It's about experiencing the religion. That's the important thing. It's not the words that the preachers or ministers or people like myself are spewing out. It's not the words. It's the emotion that's there. It's how it affects you. It's what emotions it stirs up, because that's your experience. That is the experience. I'm going to say thank you for allowing me to share this with you.